there was a lot of Greek-speaking residents, and it was also part of the church. So we thought, they'll do the best they could for the residents.
In 2018, Maxine Salakis thought she'd arranged the best possible care for her mother Georgia at St Basil's Aged Care Home in Melbourne.
She had a car accident and got hit. She did not want to go to the nursing home, but my brother and I made the decision to take her there because we thought it was in her best interest.
But 2 years later, as Melbourne grappled with a second wave of COVID infections, nursing homes like St Basil's went into lockdown with only essential workers allowed inside. Despite such restrictions, her mother tested positive.
On the 22nd, then a nurse called me from the Department of Health about 7ish p.m. and said, "Look, your mother needs to put your mother in an ambulance. We're taking her to the hospital. She's got a high temperature. She's not well." I said, "Is it COVID? We'll take her to the hospital. They'll let you know." And that was it. And then on the 23rd, she passed away.
Georgia Mitsonikos was one of 45 residents who died after contracting COVID at the home. That's almost a third of the home's 150 residents.
So many lives. How could they, have let that happen? All these people's lives that were taken away, it's extra time and the years they could have still had a life. And I can't even imagine how much they had to suffer before they passed away.
Now, a coronial inquest is hearing disturbing allegations of bungling and mismanagement at St Basil's.
Positive and negative residents were mingling freely. Personal protective equipment had not been cleared from the last visit. Bins were overflowing onto the floor and medication was on the floor. Dr Maxwell described how one of her staff, a qualified nurse, was, quote, appalled that a deceased patient was wheeled out without any attempt to clear the corridor of people.
They let the train crash happen. In Australia, in 2020, with all our resources and brightest capable minds, no one stopped the train crash.
Christine Golding's mother, Ephraxia, also died after contracting COVID at St Basil's. She has vowed to attend every day of the public hearings.
I'm there in honour of my mother as her representative. I want to give my mother a voice and a presence. She's not here, but I'm her agent.
In July 2020, the federal government took over the running of St Basil's after Victoria's Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton declared the entire staff close contacts and stood them down. The inquest has heard that his own department warned the decision could have disastrous consequences.
Despite the concerns of the doctors and the operator of St Basil's, the 3 p.m. meeting on 21 July 2020 concluded with the decision to press on with the replacement of the entire staff at St Basil's.
Unacceptable. I believe he made the wrong decision. Wrong decision because he left the residents in there whilst the staff were furloughed and they were warned.
The inquest has heard that months into the pandemic, the federal government, which is responsible for the facility, couldn't rally an adequate workforce to provide proper care for the residents. Instead, the privatised workforce, which was brought in, were totally unprepared for what confronted them. And the court has heard many of them were left traumatised.
Once the surge workforce had entered, we heard from about the 23rd that things weren't going well. Various doctors were ringing family members and telling them that, hey, they're not cohorting them, they're mingling. We had heard that people hadn't been fed.
The court heard one Victorian Health Department worker reported back after staff had been replaced that the place was a mess and residents weren't being fed, medicated or properly treated.
My greatest frustration is that we know how to war game or scenario plan things for every other industry. And it doesn't appear that we've done this for aged care, and we could have done this in April or March. I think that's just another example of how poorly understood aged care is from the Commonwealth level down. That the complexity of looking after or providing care for residents is underestimated by most of the community and certainly by many of the bureaucrats.
Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton is due to give evidence on Friday. In a statement, the Victorian Health Department told 7:30 many improvements have been made since the outbreak. St Basil's is now back to normal and accepting new residents, but for those who lost their loved ones, the pain and anger remains.
I would like accountability and I would like change.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.